Okay, guys, welcome back. We had a really heavy rain, so I had to stop in between this slide for the PowerPoint. So I just want to continue. I just have another three slides. I just want to finish it. I'm sorry about it. So I just sent you two parts of the video, so you'll be able to link together. Um, so the next is the final deity is a ritual. It's like a factory god, a worship. So the Roda Muni. So actually the word Roda came from Portuguese word wheel. So it's a wheel god. So what the wheel god actually does is the people who work in the factory worship the wheel god. So if you look at the factory, this is a tea factory, and then this is the room, and you can see here this is the room, and that the main engine is placed. So the whole factory is operated with the main engine. Okay, so the main engine is the one is the key for the production of tea. So what happens, so the people believe, so every morning people go to the wheel, and so here you can see this is actually a huge wheel, like this is the wheel, symbolizes the wheel. And so they go and worship the wheel, and they ask the wheel to operate it, function properly, because the proper function of the wheel will determine the production, and also it's a work. But also this is also all the machineries are linked to this, the main engine, electric. So the electricity is all comes from the same engine. So people, a lot of injuries. So a lot of people have shocks, and sometimes they lose their hands grinding tea leaves. So all the energy comes from this factory. So they worship this. Um, um, uh, so you can see, actually, you can see it's a small temple here in this part. This is actually the temple of wheel factory god, and they usually, every factory has a small temple outside, and this is where the wheel goddess is worshipped. So what they do is they actually worship for the full functioning and energy for the whole tea estate, and this it also protect them from injuries. But also it's important, just like, and I know if you are from Kentucky, you may have heard about black lung uh, uh, disease. So so in the people in working in the estates also, because it's full of dust. Tea is a dust. So lots of people work in the, because of their overwork day, and they work day and night, just like any capitalist factory work. So they work long hours, and they also work in a completely polluted environment. So lots of them have lots of cancer-related deaths, so premature deaths. So the premature deaths, and also a lot of people have lots of stress for sleep, uh, insomnia, and all kinds of illnesses. So what the people do is they actually worship the wheel gods to protect them, because this is the deity they worship. So sometimes they have a statue for it, but typically sometimes they just only worship the wheel. But sometimes they create a image like this, and they just draw a wheel, the engine, and they worship, and the deities. Okay, so that's for the wheel god. So, but again, in all the three deities that I discussed, they all link to a work, you know, job guarantee, um, and work and income and protection from illnesses and job occupational injuries. Okay, so these are typical anti. So maybe this is the second last slide. What is happening is, because of the rituals are declining. So the tea industry is in decline, like many other industries. Tea industry is also in decline. There are many global force factors for this declining tea industry. One is the biggest reason is the global market competition. Like before, Sri Lanka used to be the largest tea producer in the world, but now what the lots of countries like Vietnam and Kenya, Malawi, the South Africa and in even Burma, all kinds of Myanmar, all kinds of China. Those countries are also engaged in tea production, but also there are new forms of tea, but not just real tea. Lots of jasmine, all kinds of flower base and herbal teas are actually causing lots of problem in the one reason for the declining of plantations industry. Another reason is a lot of young people like my generation are not interested in working, just like coal industry in Appalachia. A lot of young people are not interested in the coal industry, but not because they don't like it, but it's because it's a very it's a unsustainable system. So lots of many other reasons. A lot of young people are focused on education, so are not interested in the exploitative labor conditions. So those factors influence the declining tea industry. So because of the tea, the most of the rituals, the deities are linked to the plantations. Okay, or because when the plantation is closed, all the rituals disappear. Okay, so in some places the plantation is community. The factory closed, the factory god disappears. Okay, when because now they have a before they used to transport the tea leaves from a cable using the cable. Now they don't use the cable because they used the technology long time ago before they didn't have the roads. But now tractors, sometimes lorries, are used to transport the tea leaves. So actually, what happens is the cable god has disappeared. Cable god has disappeared. Sometime lots of estate now. There is a new initiative. I think it's a new, I think it is in the capitalist economy. I think lots of people are doing consolidation. So with lots of, so before every estate used to have a tea factory, but now they have consolidated the estates and just use one tea factory. So what happens is, so many, the consolidation of factories has made disappear, has, been a reason for disappearance of factory codes in many places. But also, like before, they used to have the pruning. Now people use the machine to cut the pruning. So all these, industry changing plantation jobs and changing plantation industry and declining plantation industry actually also make these rituals and deities disappear. Okay, so that's one reason that I'm trying to document before they are completely gone and nobody knows the rituals. So we are trying to document it before they all completely disappear. Okay, and in the deities and the so at the same time, it doesn't mean the deities are gone, they don't have any other gods to worship. Just like we talked about in the United States, the religion is changing its form, the rituals are changing from one form to another, but it doesn't mean they disappear, because the religion and the rituals will be there forever. But I think they will transform into different rituals and different they will give different meanings to people who worship them. Okay, so what's happening is lots of people are now going to, instead of, they think like going to small temples, they think it's just typically they think it's just not, it's not a, it's not what they call, it's not a fashion. So there is a fashion. People want to go to the big temples. People want to go to the big temples, like more colorful temples like these. So they actually, so they do, worship has become like, more like a social status. I think in lots of countries, lots of cultures is become. So they try to gain social status by participating in religious ritual. One of the, for example, I would say lots of people, instead of worshipping the temple in their backyard, they actually travel to India. So they just want to tell people that they are, it's a new social status. They think it's cool. They travel to another country to worship the deity. Okay, so that's kind of a transnational pilgrimage is emerging from the state, and there's also, small temples are destroyed. So usually before, if you look at this temple, it used to be typically temple, this a stone, a triangle shape, a stone used to be the temple under a tree like this. and now the temple became like this size. Okay, and then the temple emerged like this. So you can see the transformation from a tree to this new structure, and now completely new fancy structure. So lots of demolition. So people, what they do is like, constantly they demolish the temple and rebuild to the humongous temples, because I think they want to show their social status. But also, like, there is a lot of competition. Competition between, if my village has a 70 feet temple, and the next village will spend money to 80 feet, because they just wanted to make sure their village temple is the best. So there's a really competition, really competition. But there is also one of the reason they competition is like, they just want to attract members to the churches and the rituals. It's also become increasingly money making places, which never used to be an aspect of religious in life in the upcountry plantations. But also like a lot of material manifestations. So, for example, you can see this temple. You don't have a much, statues and sculptures here, but it's just simple. This is actually modern temple, but now you can see the same. These kind of temples are being destroyed, demolished, and built like this. So this looks like more material manifestation, more like gold looking, more fancy. It's all gold, is very golden temple type. So the statues are becoming like more, just the stones have become more golden statues. So those are changes. But also in competition rituals and spending, a lot of people in the estate before, like, people used to participate in a simple without money, but now people just want to show their social status by spending. So if you spend $2 for a ritual, and I would spend $5 to share, I did better, I did best, and I did more rituals, so my worship was better. So there is a lot of competition in terms of doing rituals. So I think one of the things that I notice, all these competition and spending, very much money based rituals. Now you can do rituals without money. Everything is money based rituals. So once it's all free, anybody could go into it. So I think what's happening is a lot of people don't have money. But what they're doing is they just buy, they borrow money. So it's, I think, which is also very much a capitalist influence, and say debt is an asset. So people are using debt to do all kinds of religious ritual. Actually, it's making them much more difficult. It brings new problems in the communities. So I think so, because of the reason what is happening is this. So traditionally they've been a labor working class people. Now they have emerging as a middle class. So they just want their rituals are also changing to be. They want to represent the. You can hear bell ringing. I don't know if you heard, but that's a you know. So you can hear the bell ringing. That's a new form of rituals are emerging, just to show their class statuses. So the state community is transforming from working class to a middle class. For example, like my mother was working class, then I may be considered middle class based on my job. So the rituals are also changing as the class structure is changing. Okay. So this is a village, is a plantation temple, and this is also a plantation temple. So you can see how this is a little older. This is the newest one. So you can see how they are working. So I want to, the slide here. So I just wanted how the temples have evolved. So typically, this is how the temple started. When the state workers, indentured workers came to Sri Lanka, and this is how they started their temples. This is how it looked. This is how it looked like. Okay. But then what happened was, then as time goes, and some influential people, what they did was they started giving images to these gods. This is, if it is a Muni, its name is Val Raja, the sword god, and you can see this god actually transforms into a sword god. Okay, so for example, and here you can see this is a temple. So this is the original structure. But now you can see lots of tiles, and this one, you can see small, uh, a picture of a statue of a horse, and these are this original, and then it came like this, and now they become like these statues. But what happens is later these all will be because then it's become more expensive. They add gold and stuff like to these statues, and then what happens is because you need to protect, because you know here nobody's nothing to steal, but here you have these are becoming valuable stuff, and then what happens is they try to build a huge structure. So try to put structure and put this statue inside. So then they lock because it's a theft, theft, steal, that actually theft is really, I would say, you know, more in the capitalist societies than non-capitalist society, because what can you steal here? Nothing. But here there is so much you can steal because they allow all these deities have gold, and for example these are like gold things, so people can steal. And then what happens is this structure is like more like ugly looking, so then they make it like in a golden temple. So what is happening is you can see how the changing economy and the changing class structure is influencing the way the gods, the appearance of gods are changing. They look like this, and they look like this, and now they look like this, and then they finally they become like in a golden statue. Okay, so you can just see how economy is influencing the way. I think you can see that even in the United States, and how rituals are changing. For example, before when you give $2 at the but now we just send a check. Sometimes we just use a credit card. So things are changing. I think lots of ways. So the same thing is happening here. So I'm just saying this a subsistence god is becoming like in a more capitalist. The reason is, but here you don't need anybody to do a rituals. You can just walk and do. Anybody can do a ritual. It's no hierarchical, no hierarchy at all. No priest, nobody, nothing. Okay, actually these flowers, I kept these flowers, and just asking for I just prayed for your well-being. Okay, so I hope my prayer helped you. So I thought, oh, my students are there, they need good grades and stuff like that. So we'll see. Okay, you just let me know. Okay, whether my prayers help. Uh, um, so this is how. And you can see that now if you go to this, and people, there's a little more people watch out for this, and now you can enter. But these are golden temples. You can't get into this temple with a lot of money. So you can see the gods are changing. They're even not only they're changing, the rituals are changing, but also the way they look is uh, changing. Okay, I just want to end, and first of all, I want to end. I want to end with this. A couple of weeks ago, I was in a small town. I was talking. I was waiting for the bus, and this man showed up. He was still standing there. He was like maybe 70, and he just told. I was started having a conversation, and he said, "Oh, so we just had so many other. We talked about the past, and I was talking to him. And suddenly, then I asked, "Oh, what kind of deities do you have in your village?" And he said, "Oh, we have the most prevalent deities is the Rodamuni. Rodamuni is the god, the whale god." And I said, "Oh, I would love to come and see the temple." But so I was talking, and he said, "Yeah, you definitely should come and see." And suddenly he told me, "Can you ask me how? Can you ask me a question? How does he appear? How does he look like?" And or how does he appear, or how does he look like? And I wasn't sure what he was saying. Well, I just thought, he was drunk. Maybe I'll ask the same question. How does he look? How does he appear? I just repeated the same thing. He said, "Oh, he comes by a CVS bike. CVS bike is like the most modern bike, what you can find in the market." But it was a shock. I just laughed. I just laughed because I thought he was joking. He was extremely mad at me and just said, "How dare would you insult my God?" I said, "Well, I didn't mean to insult you. I never thought that he comes by the reason bike." And he said, "No, he comes by a bike." So actually, what happens, it's actually interesting. It's an interesting way to think about it. How changing times and economies and everything is influencing the way they construct their deities, because traditionally this is the middleman. I told you in the lecture about the people who brought the indentured workers to Sri Lanka and acted as a middleman. So these middlemen, so if you imagine before, people imagined they are, the guard, the male guards, like, because always he's just tall and dark and wear a turban and nicely dressed and with a stick and kind of a powerful man, with a big mustache and beard. But now actually, the imagination about the god, he comes by a bike, wearing a pants and in a modern bike. So this actually reflects the how changing economics is also influencing the images of God. And so once he was, so I thought it's very interesting. I actually told him I want to learn more about him coming by bike, and I don't know. So he said that I actually have an appointment. I have to go and meet with him and say, what did he exactly mean by coming by a bike? Was it just because he was drunk, or is it something it's just he believes, or maybe it's a popular belief in the village? So I actually wanted to find out what it means to be the factory god is on the bike. Okay, so I think if I find out, maybe one day if I write a book, and you will get to read. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm sorry for sending two videos because the rain had made me stop halfway, not halfway, just a couple of slides. Before I finish it. So I hope you guys are doing wonderful, and I'm very happy that your teacher, Dr. Ken Kingsolver, gave me an opportunity to talk to you, and I would really enjoy meeting you in person and interact with you face to face interaction, which I like the most. But there are logistical problems, and hopefully one day I will see you in person, and we will have a chat about the book that possibly might come be published, maybe this year or next year. Okay, I want to wish you all um, good, good semester, and all the best, and do well, and be happy. Okay, be happy. It's the most important thing at this moment is just be happy. Okay, that's all important. Just to help one another, we all can do well. Just working together, and so I wish you good luck. Thank you. Again, my name is Sasi Kumar Balasundaram. You can call me Sasi or Mr. B, and you can reach out by email. Thank you. Bye bye, guys.